What's going on, y'all? This is your girl, Brie Undeniably, checking in for another episode of my new speaker series, Deep Conversations with Dope Individuals, where we're discussing development, decision-making, and dedicating yourself to purpose. Today, as always, I'm here with a super dope individual. His name is Kenny Brown. Kenny, welcome to the show.
Welcome. What's up? What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
So happy to have you. We are definitely in for a great episode. Y'all stay tuned. Before we kick into it, I got to give my shout outs in the beginning. Y'all know I get too excited. We go through the whole episode and I'll forget at the end. So, first and foremost, if you are listening to this wherever you get your podcasts or if you are watching on YouTube, which I recommend, you can see the crystal clear video, the crisp audio. That is all thanks to Gotham Podcast Studio. So I am here working in studio with them. They are the ones on the back end, behind the scenes, putting it all together. So shout out to Gotham Podcast Studios. Also, if you have not checked out MC Kicks, definitely take a look. They are there for all your custom kicks and denim needs. You can check them out at EMCEEKICKS. If you put a .com at the end, you're going to land on their website where they have more dope art, everything. Just go check them out. They are awesome. They've sponsored me since day one, so give them a shout out and go check out their stuff. Finally, when you're doing your own thing, you got to pump your own brand up. So if you have not checked out my website, go to BrieUndeniably.com. That's where you're going to see everything else I'm doing other than the podcast. So different things with speaking, workshops, courses, and all that fun stuff. So go check that out, as well as check out my shop page. That's where you can find all of your dope individual gear, as well as your I Am Possible gear. Though I'm not wearing any dope individual gear today, I did bring my dope individual backpack. So this is
That's
just
a dope bag.
Thank you very much. So this is just one of the many things you can find on my shop page. So head over to BrieUndeniably.com, check that out, and show some love. All right, so we're about to kick into it. I am going to give Kenny the introduction that he deserves, and then we're gonna hear his story. So, Kenny Brown is a spiritual mindset coach, motivational speaker, and civic influencer based in Atlanta, Georgia. He specializes in provoking thought, spiritual consciousness, and objectivity in others that results in a different perspective and method to managing emotion, processing trauma, and aligning with their higher and best self. New problems cannot be solved with old thinking. Kenny, also known as Kenny B Speaks, believes that if you can change your mind, you can also change your life. His Change the Vibe initiative has resonated across nations and has helped individuals, couples, and organizations from all walks of life align with a common goal of inner peace, realizing their true potential, and living in their true calling while executing a God-given organizational and personal vision. Kenny, welcome one more time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I know that's a mouthful. But you got it. You did good.
That's because you're doing a lot of things. So I had to get it all out there. I mean, man, I'm excited about this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
You've got a lot going right now. We got to find out the lead up to it all.
1,000%.
So the way that I always start the conversation, my listeners know in the counseling community, we like to meet our clients where they're at. I like to do the same thing with the podcast. So help listeners meet you where you're at and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, right? but at the same time, I get it. I'm 37, unmarried, never been married, no children. And so, as where I am right now, like I speak from a unique perspective, I guess, as a single male in Atlanta. With the background, I had a career in music. 10 years, I was a music executive, or I had an independent label in publishing and artist management for a while. Contracted with the government for a while. Was hired under the Obama administration back in 2011 to examine banks. And so, that financial kind of background and business background and government background gave me a unique perspective as well, being in boardrooms with, a lot of the owners and board of directors from a lot of prominent companies and powerful people, and understanding their perspective and how to communicate with them in their language. Having an athletic background, so I used to be an athlete. I got a lot of stuff that kind of led me into the motivational speaking and life coaching or mindset coaching space. And so, I was going through a transition, at a couple of years ago, transitioning from music, and so going through that period of self-discovery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I outside of the title? Who am I outside of the profession, the industry? And so that kind of, that's kind of led me where I am now, trying to share some insight, some inspiration, some light, a different perspective, helping people to think different. I really do believe if you can change your mind, you can change your life. And ultimately, I believe that, what we're going through, what even I'm going through right now, is as I'm asking myself hard questions and trying to, unlearn things that may not serve me in the season that I'm in or may not serve where I'm trying to go, and then relearn them. Yeah. That's a period of enlightenment to a degree. So I'm in a space of sharing that light with other people and being authentic to who I am. Not trying to fit into a certain group or align with a specific, message or dialogue, but, to really share some insight to help people think differently. I believe we're going through a lot of suffering, myself included. Everybody has a battle that they're going through that they don't talk about. But, we kind of put ourselves in our own hell sometimes, because of the way that we think about a situation or a circumstance. And so, where I am is just in the place of discovery, self-discovery of higher understanding, of trying to share that, not necessarily telling people what to believe or what to do, but just giving them a different way to think about it. And that's really unlocking a lot of people's lives. And I've been very successful at it so far, and it's just the beginning. So, that's where I am, that's where I am.
Thank you so much. I mean, clearly you are really living out something that is serving you. It seems that, it's like you're bringing who you are to other people to help them discover who they are as you do it yourself. And I think that's a really interesting way to be able to bring your gifts to others, because we are all on this path, right? We're all on this journey of self-discovery and understanding. And so I can imagine that you're really impacting your clients and those who you work with.
I mean, yeah, I don't even like to call them clients. I call them my community,
okay.
right? And so your community really doesn't have a monetary connotation to it. If I say client, it means you're paying me for something, right? But
like
community is more so people that align with what it is, the energy I'm putting out, the message I'm putting out, the seeds that I'm putting in the ground, and we're growing together. The shepherd, you got to be a good shepherd before you can be a king. And so, and the shepherd and the king specializes in the service industry. And so my ability to serve my community by being authentic is really something that I feel is missing in a lot of cases, especially in the spiritual aspect of the world. And even in the coaching or therapy, aspect of society or community right now. A lot of times those people in leadership positions I guess they've succumbed to the pressures of having to appear like they got it all together, and they're not human, and they're not human, and they got it all figured out. And I think that's really held a lot of people back from growing, because it's not authentically resonating. It's regurgitating something that you heard or something you read or something you believe, but you're not walking it. You're not living it. And so there's a level of transparency and a veil that's kind of up right now that I feel like, I'm trying to champion people to get back to that authenticity. Like, it's okay to not have it figured out. That's what kind of makes us all similar. Like, none of us have it figured out. Nobody will really know whether you're right or not until you get to the gates.
It's so funny. It's like you're just touching on the humanness of individual. Like, we are all human, and being human means not even being close to perfect, and it also means being sort of two opposites of the same coin. Like, we can have one thing totally figured out and have life in chaos in another place. And so just being able to be real with ourselves and real with the world and in those spaces is, I'm sure, strikes a chord with your community. I know it will strike a chord with mine as well.
I hope so. I definitely hope so. I just, there's a difference between intellectually being able to have a conversation about a topic or a thing or a situation, and being able to authentically talk from a personal place, right? I feel like in a lot of cases, people can tell you, can conceptualize what the problems are that we're dealing with, or what the issue is, the circumstances. They conceptualize it, right? And that opens up conversation. But not a lot of people are giving you practical tools to address it. right? They want to give you the pill to cope, but they don't want to give you the tools to heal. And so, I felt like the practical nature is missing in a lot of the things that we do, even our churches at this point, our school system, and a lot of, the social and emotional learning aspect of things. They're not practically saying in your language, how do you need to hear this, right?
Yes.
And I think that, with coaching and what we've been able to do with Vibe Tribe University and some of the other things I got going on, we've been able to communicate with different types of people in different industries, from different backgrounds, beliefs, cultures, in the language that they receive it.
I love you.
Right?
It's like you're nailing an essential piece of understanding in their language, not necessarily in another language, but in the way that information and messaging is understood.
Yeah.
And that's different for everyone. That's that an alternate perspective.
Y'all see the drip? Y'all check the drip?
There's so much drip. Actually, though, that's we all, we can, as human beings, this is a human thing. We can kind of get stuck in our own lane, which isn't a bad thing, because you want to be able to move forward in the way that you move forward. But in order to, be able to penetrate outside of your lane, you need to be able to understand different perspectives and understand that everyone doesn't understand the way that we understand.
1,000%. I mean, it's the human kind of problem, right? Like, I heard something this morning. I was actually watching a video this morning, and it was a guy speaking about, I forgot his name, but he was speaking about the nose, right? And the proximity, of our nose to our lips. And our nose essentially, can tell if our lips smell bad, if our breath smells bad, right? But after a while, your nose no longer can, it's no longer registering that your breath stinks, but everyone else around you can smell it, right? But you, right?
That is so interesting.
And so that's like the human condition. That's the human problem. That's the contradiction that we have. We become so good at smelling the funk of other people and not recognizing the stench of our own mess, right?
Whoa.
And so now what we're doing is we're going out, and everybody want to coach, everybody want to teach, everybody got a podcast, everybody want to speak, everybody wants the mic, everybody wants the light, right? But everybody doesn't have a message, right? And so, and most of the time, their message is not about themselves. It's about other people. It's about what they understand about the problem in society. So it's an ongoing conversation that nobody has a solution to, right? And so when you enter someone else that says, hey, okay, yeah, we got the problem. Let's no longer talk about the problem. Let's talk about the solution to the problem. Now everybody gets a little quiet, right? Because now you got to champion that.
Right. Oh, man, I feel like we could go down.
We can do this.
We could go down this this rabbit hole right now, because I mean you're touching on some real stuff right here. What I want to do before we get there, because I think we can go there, and I think it might make sense for us to table it in this moment and bring it back into the end with everything that you're doing.
For sure.
Let's go back to the beginning of your journey.
Okay.
I want to know your story. What brought you to this season of Kenny Brown? Like, that is really why we're here. We got to know the path that's brought you here.
Well, it's interesting. As I mentioned before, I was transitioning out of one industry and one space to another. I was kind of searching and trying to figure out what my identity, is or was at the time. And I was just frustrated at myself about some of the situations I had found myself in, and some of the choices that I had made romantically, business-wise as an entrepreneur, some of the relationships I had built, not necessarily just romantic relationships, but like working relationships that I had built, friendships that I had built. And, I was coming face to face with heartache. I went through a situation where I was dating this girl for a while and really got emotionally involved, and, was just in a very sensitive space. And I was just like, yo, she the one, like, this gonna be it, right? And then got ghosted, And so that was such a traumatic experience because even before that, I had been in long-term relationships. So dating in the open field really wasn't my thing. And so, the trauma that caused me, and it was my first time facing it, something that severe. Now, breakups they happen, I understand. But this was something different because it was a psychological and emotional withdrawal that I did not understand. I didn't comprehend at the time. And so it left me searching for answers, you know, and because of my faith, you know, my spiritual upbringing and my religious upbringing, you know, I knew where to go to find the comfort and the peace that I was looking for and the understanding I was looking for. And in going to that place, I was kind of fulfilled and kind of enlightened on a different way to accept myself and other people, right? And so not learning not to internalize the humanness of other people led me to you know, accept myself and look myself in the mirror in an honest way, you know, and not run from what I saw and not, you know, try to justify or rationalize my own dysfunction, and essentially was making me a hypocrite. So there were some things about myself that situation, that period of time helped me to come face to face with, and I didn't run. And I didn't run because I had God on my side. I had, you know, not even a really community of people that were behind me because I was very quiet about this. But it led me to just kind of realizing that I had experienced so much heartache and most of the most painful experience of my life chasing love, relationships, and sex. And so, you know, I learned the language of sex before I learned the language of spirit. And so, you know, going through the transitions that I went through up until that point, and this was a couple years ago, I realized that I had the gift of gab, but I was using it for the wrong purpose. I had manipulated the gift. And so while I can inspire some and get you to be enthusiastic and provoke action and thought and, you know, introspect and all the rest of that stuff, I could also talk you out your panties. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I
She's like, yeah, you can. You sure can.
Nah, the way that you said it, I was like, I know where he's going, but what are the words he's going to use?
Yeah.
He said, talk you out of your panties.
Talk you out your panties.
He said, sheesh. Okay, so you actually... You said one thing that I want to lean into a little bit more. You said you learned how to not internalize the humanness of others. Let's push into that. I think that is such a huge statement that a lot of people might want to understand a little bit more about, because what you're saying, you're speaking to an audience of individuals who everyone, no matter who's the audience, has been through some type of situation similar. Maybe not on that same side, maybe on the other side, but you know, that heartache piece, that breakup moment, I believe that everyone has been through a relationship, romantically or otherwise, where when it ends, there's not an evenness on both sides. So I really want to hear about that
yeah,
not internalizing.
So, you know, when I was going through that season and that experience, I began to think about why I was really hurt. Why am I really upset? Why am I disappointed? Why am I hurting right now? And I began to take the focus off of the other person.
Okay.
You know, it's easy when you're hurting, you want to point the finger at, you know, outside people as it being their fault. Yeah. And, you know, even when people try to help you, you're in so much pain that you make them your enemy. You know, it's like, you know, when the doctor comes in to give you surgery, like you're not friendly to the doctor in a lot of cases unless you realize that the surgery is necessary. It's required. I got to do it. You're here to help me, you know? So, you know, I started thinking about that and our relationship with God, right? When I'm hurt, and God's there to try to come console me or heal me or nurture me or give me the understanding that I need, if I fight him off, am I doing me a disservice or God a disservice? You know what I'm saying? I'm doing me a disservice. So when I think about the situations that other people have or the experience I've had with other people, I don't internalize their human flaws as deficiencies of my own. My self-confidence and my self-awareness is strong enough and healthy enough where I'm not taking your issues on as my problems. Right. Okay. Now that doesn't mean I'm insensitive to what other people are going through. It doesn't mean that I can't empathize with you and be compassionate and considerate and supportive, but I will not take your problems and make them my own because I have my own problems. right? And the reason that I was really hurting at the time was not because I didn't receive the love that I wanted. It was because I couldn't give the love that I wanted to give. You know, I had it in my head and conditioned myself to prepare to be like, okay, I know if she's solid and if this the one and if this keep going the way it's going, I'm going to give her everything I got to give. The type of man I've always wanted to show up as, I'm going to show up as him. You know what I'm saying? And the situation that we were going through and the back and forth sometimes led me to being so full of fear that, you know, I couldn't love in the way that I desired to love. And so I also couldn't be loved in the way that I desired to be loved. And so, you know, that in and of itself placed the focus on me. It wasn't about the deficiencies of another person, right? And a lot of times I did more damage in trying to bring it to their attention than just living it out and giving them time and space to work it out on their own. And so, you know, sometimes, you know, you can be too vocal, you know, and you can point out you can critique other people because you're mad at yourself, you know, so.
Wow. I mean, there's so much. I sometimes I wish that these conversations could be 2+ hours. We do have an hour, so I'm gonna keep it. I want to go back to where you were and in your place of conversation, finding out that you had the gift of gab. But you went through this and you learn. It's like you had to really learn something about yourself. You had to really go through this heartache and experience, and you know, I call it the waves of life. How, you know, our life is really on this wavy path where there's always going to be those ups and those downs. But when you're in that valley, rather than being on top of the hill, when you're in that valley, that's where you do the most learning about yourself. That's where those, you know, failure, quote unquote, if we want to call it, or those places that we feel are lowest, that's actually where the most growth is happening. And it sounds like that this might have been a valley for you, but you were able to come out on top eventually. Yeah,
like the valley will teach you lessons that the mountaintop never could or would, right?
Right.
And so, you know, when you're going through a dark space, it's our conditioning has, and even our religious understanding and teachings have taught us to pray your way out of the dark space. But I think when you cross over to a relationship with God and truly understanding and embracing spirit and the spiritual nature of you, you begin to no longer pray to get out of it, but to invite God into it with you, you know? And so, you know, that's a change of perspective. Miracles are nothing more than a change in your perspective because you see it differently. And now you're recognizing different things, and you're downloading these messages and you're listening to the universe and God using his creation to deliver a message to you. And so at that point, you can address things differently. I see it differently. I know that now I got God on my side and not abandoning me. You know, and so when you're going through traumatic or painful experiences, it's easy to want to shut God out, shut people out, and AKA suffer in silence. You know, but you're not doing nobody a service. You're not doing yourself a service by suffering in silence. Essentially, what you're doing is internalizing something that's going to take root and stronghold in your heart and your mind and going to make you hard-hearted and stubborn. And then you become very volatile, defensive, closed off, nonchalant, and these things are not gifts of the Spirit. They're not fruits of the Spirit. You know, fruits of the Spirit is open and understanding and free-flowing and, you know, loving and kind and patient and, you know what I'm saying, and supportive. Like, these are different fruits. And if you don't have your relationship with God intact, you're not going to be able to access the fruits of the Spirit to still give and pour when you're in pain, when you're not happy, when you don't feel good. And so, again, we can conceptualize the conversation, but how many tools, how many places can you go to find a practical tool that shows you the relationship between your spiritual understanding, like we just talked about, and your human functionality or your human design, right?
Yes. So I want to know now, just speaking on all of this, for you personally, was God always in your life? Maybe
1,000%.
Oh,
But I ran from him.
Okay. Yeah. See. Okay. So maybe I need to rephrase the question. So God was always in your life, but was God always the person that you invited into your darkest times?
Nah. So I had a backwards kind of relationship with God for a long time. And although on the outside it looked like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, which is where a lot of Christians and people look these days. So take notes. No,
If you're watching,
yeah.
his eyes were right in the
Free
camera.
game, okay?
There was
No.
a direct.
So in some way, I felt like I could run from God. I felt like I can hide from God. I felt like God couldn't see me. And it was the arrogance, right? How arrogant could I be to think that God don't know, can't see it,
Doesn't know what's going on.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, when I was chasing, lust and sex and women and stuff like that, experiences, I felt like my life was more exciting when I didn't contact God as frequent.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that you're tapping into a place again. A lot of people might
1,000%,
be
right?
right now. So keep
Right.
Keep it flowing here.
I'm gonna keep it funky.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. And then with Cam Newton, like keep it funky.
That's
So I'm gonna
right.
keep it funky. No, but so I felt like it. But if I'm having more fun, right? If I see it, felt like I'm being blessed even more when I don't keep contact with God frequently.
Right.
I got him consciously in the back of my head. I know where, I'm praying. I got my affirmations. I'm going through the motions.
But you got all these material.
But I got these other things over here that
yeah.
I don't invite God into because I don't want him to come in and mess this up. So I've rationalized it in my head that this is of God too. You know what I'm saying? This is God. God is actually giving me these things. He know me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like he know what I need. I'm over here with
You're the exception to the rule.
1,000%, right? But then once it wasn't fulfilling inside of me.
Yeah.
And when I finally got fed up with not being fulfilled because I was chasing experiences that was never really satisfying my ultimate desire. So then I went back to God. And when I say I went back to God, I mean like I started, fasting. I started attending church every Sunday. I started studying the word, not just reading it, but studying the word. I started joining communities and different groups of people that were on that same wave. But I also realized how it made me feel. It didn't feel cool. It didn't feel like it didn't feel fun. It didn't feel like freedom. It felt like I was putting myself in a box to live this mundane, quiet, kind of lower vibrational life. And so that was my train of thought until I realized that, you know what? This is cool. Like, this is cool. This is the road less traveled. I named my company Mission Road Faith, God's mission, the road less traveled and faith at all times, and so I grew up on Mission Road, and so, it all kind of made sense. And so when I decided that, okay, I think this feels lame and it feels boring because not a lot of people do it, and the people that do it are so conservative that they're trying to protect not just their own persona, but they're also trying to protect other people from feeling a type of way about how boisterous or how blessed they really are, how good they really feel about themselves, because what God's doing in their life. And so I realized that you can be sexy and saved. You know what
Amen.
I'm saying?
That's
you can be
right?
sexy and saved, right?
Absolutely.
You can be cool and be prayed up. You can be a star but also be humble. And so I had to learn what does that look like? Yeah. Who can I go to see that?
Right.
Back then, people weren't as vocal about their love for God back then, unless you was really in the church.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I feel like I know that in people that I've spoken with, it's been. There's that difference between like the organized religion and church and just finding God and spirituality and moving down that path. And I've found that it's some pieces of organization that push people away from that relationship too. Feels like they're in a box, but just finding God feels more freeing for people to know that they, regardless of where they're at or what rules they may or may not adhere to, that they can still find him in their own light and in their own way.
And people are teaching you, they're treating you according to their misinformed interpretation of who God is. And so they're loving you like that. They're caring for you like that. They're doing their best to show up for you in the best way they know how, but because of their misunderstanding or misinterpretation or just their interpretation in general, is off. So it discourages you. You're just like, if you believe in God and that's how you treat people and this is how you show up and that's the God you want me to serve, I ain't going.
Not with it.
I'm not pulling up.
Right.
And so it's not until children, kids, teenagers start being more rebellious about that.
Yeah.
We teach them in one case, stand up for yourself, stand up for what you believe in, always own who you are. But then when they stand up to you about a way they feel differently about God, about their relationship with God, now it's be quiet, do as you told, stay inside. You know what I'm saying? You gon' go.
Yes.
As long as you're in my house. Like, what if you really understand God and spirit, right? You were born different than me. Your spirit's different than mine. Your calling's different than mine. So just because you may have grown up and your spirit led you to the Christian faith doesn't mean that when I grow up under you that I'm supposed to still be steered in that same direction. Now, I am a Christian. I do believe in Jesus Christ. So I'm not talking ill against my belief system or my religion. What I'm saying is that we're all on different paths.
Right.
And so we're taught as kids to abide and conform to the same belief system and path that our parents or grandparents had, but our calling is different.
Right.
So at what point do you unlock a child's mind and say, you know what, seek to understand and seek to find out what it is that truly resonates with your spirit, with your being. And then if that's what the religion or the practice or the belief system that resonates with you, go after it.
Lean into that.
Lean into it.
Yeah.
And don't let me and what I've chosen to do affect you and what you're chosen to do. The instructions that we were given, and even in the Old Testament, by God, was not to make people believe in it, not make people believe what you think they should believe, but just tell them about me.
Right. Open the door.
Tell them about me. Tell your children's children about me. Tell your ancestors about me, because no matter when you all go away, when this changes, my word is going to last the longest. My word. So teach them who I am. Just tell them about me. Now, will the dialect change? Will the words change? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, 1,000%. Different languages.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But love is a universal language. Music is a universal language.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so these things just give people love. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. Yes.
And that means love without conditions.
They're this is so good. I mean, okay, so I always tell guests who come on, I don't bring religion into or spirituality necessarily into the podcast, but I always invite the opportunity for others, and I leave it open that way because I love to hear that people have gone on a spiritual journey, and that has sort of been the key that unlocked everything for them. And I hear it in conversation after conversation after conversation, and everything that you're saying. I mean, I've heard it with all religions, all spiritual practices, all, energy sources, whatever someone calls it, it is still this connection to something outside of themselves.
Nobody has the answers. None of us. Christians, like Muslims, none of us have the answer, the real answer. And I refuse to believe that when we get to the gates of heaven, that God is going to ask us, how did you get here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I refuse to believe that the God that I serve, that's what I understand about him, he's going to sit there and wait for my entry to be like, how'd you get here, though? Who referred you? Who told you to come here? You know what I'm saying? Like, what road did you take? Like, that don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't matter. So at the end of the day, that's a human conditioning that we've placed on the personality of God to make him seem like we think he would be, because that's how we are.
Love what you're
when God
about.
in church, they say, well, come as you are. Okay, cool. So if I pull up and I just came out of a bad situation, I need to pull up straight from the club, smell like alcohol, and I just got to pray this off me because I went through some traumatic stuff last night. Now, if I pull up and y'all look at me like I don't belong there, you look at me like you pass, homeless individuals on the street, and now you don't want to pray for me. You don't want to touch me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to wake me up to pray. Like,
you act like I don't belong.
You act like I don't exist. You know what I'm saying? But then this is God's house. These are God's people, and y'all act like I don't even exist because I don't look or smell or come off as being approve, like, you know, like,
yeah, the ideal of what you think belongs in these pews.
You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, in that case, I also, you know, growing up, I was educated in 3 different countries. I lived in 3 different countries. My dad was in the military.
Okay.
So, you know, I was raised in the Philippines for a couple years. I lived in Saudi Arabia for a couple years, and then the U.S. And so, you know, I not only have went on a, you know, theological or a educational journey to understand who God is. I've lived in different countries where I've had to conform to their societal norms based on their different belief systems because of their different foundational religious beliefs and preferences. So I've seen the godliness of Muslims in a Muslim country. I've seen the godliness of Buddhists in a Buddhist country. And I've seen the godliness of Christians in a predominantly Christian country. So what's different? The regimen is different. The frequency, the word choice that they use, you know, like the traditional nature of some of them, you know, you face a certain type of way in some cases, like, but ultimately it's like different workouts. That's how I look at it. It's like different workouts. So essentially, when you go to the gym, everybody ain't on the same training schedule. Everybody don't have the same workout on the board.
That's
you know,
right.
You showing up and you got your personalized workout that work for you and your DNA and your body and, you know, and what you and your sport, your craft. And I got mine.
Right.
Now, we might end up doing some of the same exercises that make us be like, oh, yeah, you do bench, I do bench.
We might both have leg day.
You know what I'm saying? We might be able to, we might both be on leg day today. But what I do for leg day and what you do for leg day could be different. Does it mean that my workout was better than yours?
Absolutely not.
Does it mean that I got stronger than you?
Absolutely not.
Does that mean that I'm more worthy and more qualified to compete in the event than you are?
Absolutely not.
Okay, then. So what makes us think that religion is any different?
Oh, my God. The analogy is so pertinent. It is so incredible. I mean, I don't know that I've ever had someone speak to me about spirituality and religion in the way that you just did. I think that it's never made more sense to me, truly, to understand that perspective shift. That alternate. That is, I mean, what you're saying. It makes so. We're all doing the same thing. We're all doing it in a different way. In the same way, we all go about our days differently. We don't all have the same jobs. We don't all do the same, extracurricular activities. We don't all choose to raise our families in the same way. But bottom line, we're all doing those things just in the way that we choose to do them. Still happening. Still getting done. Still, God's purpose is still being served and still being done.
And so, you know, what we hate the most, we often become. Okay?
It's true.
In trying to not be a hypocrite, you become a hypocrite. Okay? And so I remember some scriptures, I can't quote them exactly, but they're in the New Testament where, you know, Jesus was talking to the religious leaders at the time. And he went on a whole spiel, a whole rant, like, hypocrites, you hypocrites. God said this, but you do this. You treat people like this, but y'all think y'all can do this. You hypocrites. And he just kept going down, calling them hypocrites. And while I understand that, I would take that as being like, oh, God is pissed. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jesus is mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, but at the same time, it was so real because when you look at, you know, not just the Christian faith, but other religions as well, you know, you're interpreting the word of God based on how you interpret it. And because I interpret it differently, then I'm not eligible to be accepted by you or as a believer or as a child of God. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, okay, wait. So you're telling me that if I don't conform to what you want me to believe, think, feel, say, and do, then I'm not worthy of your love. But you say you believe in God. Now, I don't know where you read this, but the God I serve doesn't love based on condition. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He is love. He walks around with love. He gives love. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore it resonates the highest. You don't have to teach a baby how to love.
You do not. You do not. You don't need to teach. You don't need to teach kids much either. They are in their most organic, just human state. And
do you have to teach a kid how to hate?
No. Oh, how to hate?
Do you have to teach a kid how to hate?
No, you don't teach hate. Wait.
It's a good question. Keep going. Keep trying it.
Yeah. Wait a second here. I don't know if I'm being do you have to teach a kid how to hate? They learn it from others. I believe. I think hate is something that's learned. That's why it's like when it's conditioned by the human condition. Children, babies, infants, they are born pure as they possibly can. They don't know anything other than what their senses allow them to. And at that time, it's not much. So as they grow, they learn again what their senses allow them to.
Mm-hmm.
So hate is learned.
Okay. What about fear?
Oh, we could go into psychology with this.
You looking at the clock like, whoa.
Hold on a second here. Fear, I believe, is inherent. Fear is something that there's levels of it that we can scare ourselves into fear, but fear as a natural when you think fight or flight. I think fear comes more naturally for people than hate does. I don't believe hate is natural.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think our response to the feeling of hate, we're taught how to recognize it as hate.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I also, fear is something that exists. It's inherent within our human nature. But again, we have to recognize fear.
We do have to. That's right. And so how we learn how to work with it.
1,000%.
Is fear good for us or bad for us?
And fear is the opposite of love. Okay. So ultimately, as a child, when you're growing up and you're jumping off of stuff, right? And you're just like, yo, he don't have no fear. Like, he just jumping off the top step. Like, oh, my God. Like, but as you get older, you're just like, I'll never jump off the top step. I ain't gonna break my arm. Like, heck no. So essentially you're learning the limitations based on your fears.
This is really true.
Right? And so ultimately over life, you're accumulating experiences and insight and, feedback from people that's helping you develop your tolerances or your boundaries when it comes to fear, love, hate, a lot of these other things. So,
man, I'm there's so much I want to talk about. I always, once we go down the rabbit hole, it's like we got to do a round two because we only have 15 minutes left. So
all right, cool.
We gotta. I want to know. I mean, clearly you have taken life experience. You have taken your relationship with God. You have taken so much about what you've learned in this world, and you've put it to incredible practice.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We have about 15 minutes left, so let's kind of do this transition where we really talk about how you are sitting in your purpose right now, or trying to work towards sitting in your purpose right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what specifically? Where you want to start?
There's so many things. So I like to know, like, whether it be what you're doing with your business and your practice in your community and how you're really serving them, or if it's whatever you're doing in maybe your personal life that your journey has really led you to at this place in your life.
Yeah, so those are good questions, actually. Very good questions. So I think professionally, I'll say professionally, I've reached a place where I'm able to walk and operate daily in my calling. I don't have to flip a switch every day. I wake up every day and I'm able to attack my day with enthusiasm and joy and just I understand what I need to do, and I understand I'm doing it for a cause that's bigger than me. And so that's a beautiful thing. That's a hell of an alarm clock, because I'm really seeing it make changes in other people's lives. Yeah. And so that's a fulfilling piece to it, because I know that I'm making positive changes, not positive changes, but making a positive impact on other people of a lot of different backgrounds, religions, genders, belief systems. Like, it's just the different. And so I know that the ultimate message is resonating across a community of people that believe and desire the same things. And so, doing that through Mission Road Faith, my nonprofit, as well as through Vibe Tribe University, which is my online wellness and self kind of mastery kind of platform. I'm teaching emotional and emotional intelligence, as well as social and emotional learning, financial literacy, spiritual alignment, and relationships. And I'm not talking about relationships as in dating. I focus on 4 different types of relationships. One is your relationship with God. first and foremost. That's the biggest relationship.
Mhm.
You get that right, and it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
Everything else falls into place. Then your relationship with yourself, right? What do you feel about yourself? The self-awareness, self-worth, self-care, self-love, self-respect.
All
You
the
know, all the
selves.
self
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like, these are your responsibilities, okay?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
here
Tap
is your
in.
roadmap.
Yeah.
Here is your guide to help you deal with self.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Like, this is your manual to deal with your human design,
Yes.
okay, and your spiritual experience that you're having, okay. And then I want to focus on the relationship you have with other people, right? True righteousness is being in good standing with God and people,
Mhm.
God and man. Okay, you can't say that you walk in righteousness when you're out of touch with God and you're out of touch and you're in conflict with people, right? Or you're in touch with God but you're in conflict with people,
Right.
That's not ultimate righteousness. And so, I focus on that. So how not only are you treating God, how are you treating yourself, and how are you treating other people, right? Because all those go together.
This all makes sense.
It all goes
it
together,
really does.
right?
All right
And
in
then
line.
the last part is relationships, right?
Okay.
Not just relationships, but the relationship you have with your own energy.
Okay.
That's the fourth part. Relationship you have with your own energy, aka your ability to manifest. Right? Manifestation is not magic. It is your ability. It is the relationship you have with your own energy.
Yes.
And so that comes into the personal aspect of my own life. What do I do in my personal life to make sure that I can continue to pour, continue to be aligned, continue to stay in power, continue to speak from a place of peace and center and perspective and objectivity and non-judgment. And I have to meditate, I have to read, I have to study the word, I have to spend time alone, I have to really recharge, I got to work out, I got to stretch, I got to eat well, I got to take care of my health.
Yes.
Like, all of these things from mind, body, spirit. Every day I wake up trying to do something for my mind, my body, and my spirit. And that's my daily goal. Right? If I can touch on one thing in each one of those areas every day, I know that after 365 days, I know I've gotten better. I didn't work this hard to stay the same.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so that helps me be authentic to giving other people the message. So when I'm coaching, when I'm speaking, I'm not telling you to do as I say and not as I do. I'm telling you that this works, and I know because I do it,
Because
and
you live it.
I can identify people right now that have done interviews, that are entertainers, that are politicians, that are outspoken about the fact that this is my regimen, it works, and this is how I sustain myself, and you should do it too. And people don't listen to it.
It's very true. It's so funny. It's like one of those things where it's like, it's the roadmap. It's all right there. It's not about having to get to the finish line right away. Like what you said, mind, body, spirit every day. That's consistency. That's 1% better every day. 1% is not huge until you put in 100 days, and then you're at 100.
1,000%.
And that's one of those things where it's like, I feel like so often, we're chasing the thing, the final goal, the end experience, the success, and it's all today. It's all right now. It's all right here. It's all in the present. Exactly. It's all right here within us, and wherever your energy channels up,
1,000%.
spiritually, wherever your energy channels out to others, wherever it channels inward to yourself, it's all right here.
1,000%. So the hard part is, how do you stay present? How do you stay present when in a world full of distractions, when everybody's vying for your time, for your attention? Corporations are paying huge dollars to get 15 seconds of your life. So how much has your life worth? Your 24 hours, what not just an hourly basis, how much do your seconds cost? You know what I'm saying? And I ain't even talking about money.
Right.
Like, how much does it cost you in your energy, in your effort, in your understanding, in your focus? How much does it cost you in your emotion, your emotional health, your mental health, your financial health? How much is it really costing you? When you're focused on mind, body, and spirit, you have no choice but to think about these things. You're sensitive to these things. And so you can do things differently. You can take control of the daily activities that you do on autopilot and bring consciousness to them. So when you talk about enlightenment, I'm talking about consciousness.
Yes.
Right? Your motherboard or your autopilot is just going.
Yeah.
And you're naturally reacting and responding to stuff. But ultimately, when you're conscious, You know, you can think about what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Add intention to your choices. I've been teaching about vivid vision statements.
Oh.
That's my current initiative.
Okay.
Vivid vision statements and 5 ways to boost emotional intelligence. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when we're talking about kind of the relationship between those two, vivid vision, we're taught about vision statements in college and high school and our school system, but the vivid nature of your of your vision statement isn't discussed. Well, the vivid nature adds the emotional and spiritual aspect to your vision, right?
So unique and centered and like just I can only imagine what that program does for people who are really looking to dive head first into their present selves. That's really sounds like a cool initiative.
Yeah.
Kenny, I wish we could keep on here. We've got about 7 minutes, so I have a few things that we do to wrap up the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Let's get it.
Let's do it. So we're about to do a fun little rapid fire round, and then I'm going to leave you to the floor for the last few minutes. Leave listeners with whatever you would like to, your final thoughts, and then let everyone know where they can find you.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the episode, I talked about 3 pillars: development, decision-making, and a dedication to purpose. I mean, I think that you are firing on all fronts. You have told us everything, you know, about your process, what you're grounded in, what you're doing. I mean, we definitely nailed all of these in the conversation, and there's so much more to talk about. But that's what these 3 questions are on. So the first one is on development. Currently, in this very moment, are you working more on personal development or professional development?
Personal. Yeah, and it's bleeding over to my professional development, so it makes sense.
They're super interconnected. You know, sometimes a lot of people will be like, both. I'm like, you got to tell me one. I got to know one, but they are super interconnected, so I understand.
You play how you practice.
Yeah,
right? And you play how you practice. They taught us as an athlete, and I didn't quite get it, right? So your performance in the classroom translates to your performance on the field. I didn't get it back then. Now I get it.
It makes sense.
Right?
What you're doing personally.
The preparation that I'm doing behind the scenes personally is manifesting and showcasing itself in my professional life. And I can't stop the light from shining, and nobody else can. Because you're not involved in my process. It's me and God.
That's you. That's
and my
right.
trainers, coaches, and therapists, doctors, and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like
all the other the people that you brought. Yeah,
my cabinet. It's my cabinet.
That's it.
My presidential cabinet.
That's it. All right. The next one is on decision making. I'm going to be honest. I can almost guarantee I know your answer, and I say almost, but I actually can guarantee. Not everyone I can guarantee you. This one I can. So decision making. I like to know. Do you make your decisions? I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation. Do you make decisions based more on choice, meaning you follow numbers and analytics, or guiding voice, meaning you follow gut feeling, spirituality, intuition, or something else of the sort?
Ooh, a majority of gut feeling, spirituality, and a higher calling.
That guiding voice.
That guiding voice. But data does help.
I'm
I'm an analytical person.
Okay.
I believe that data gives you the tools that you need. I don't believe everybody has the analytical ability and a certain level of that analytical ability where they can numbers speak to them, right? And to me, I've been conditioned with my government, my accounting background, my degree, I'm a Virgo, analytical as hell. And so that in and of itself helps me interpret numbers differently, statistics differently, data differently. And so that helps me deliver to an audience, to a specific topic, a specific age group.
Yes.
It helps me to segment my messages as well as my energy in a way where it, again, relates to different pockets of people. So analytics helps. Data does work, especially with investing and money and finances. I can't just pray it away and be like, God told me to do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like I knew the numbers look horrible, but God told me to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what's going on in the world right now. Everybody going broke. Yikes. You know what I'm saying? But nah, I ain't with it.
All right. All right. The last one, this is one that, I actually, it's almost like it's still a work in progress for the question, so you can just give me your thoughts. But when I think about purpose, I'd like to understand, or when I think about how people think about purpose, that's what I'm trying to understand. Do you see purpose as more of sort of like this pivotal, almost like a turnkey moment in time where you understand what it is and then you just go full force into it? Or is purpose something that you have to practice and work with daily?
I think purpose is something you have to find before you can practice it.
Okay.
I think purpose is highly tied to understanding your why.
Mm-hmm.
Your why will lead you to your purpose.
Yeah.
Right? Why am I here?
Yeah.
That'll tell you if your
One of the
purpose
biggest
statement
questions
isn't
ever
built
asked.
within your response to that, then
Right.
I don't really know
Right.
what it is that you're looking for. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Maybe you're in denial of the purpose that God has told you or shown you, and you just don't want to do that because that's not
It's
cool
not,
enough.
yeah,
You know what I'm
right?
saying? Like, it's completely opposite of the energy you've been putting out for so long. And so,
Mhm.
I do think that purpose has to be not necessarily you kind of practice, but it does have to be discovered.
Mhm.
And you gotta figure out your why before you can find what your purpose is. Why do you do it, first of all?
Right. Right. I love that answer.
My purpose is to be rich. Okay, why?
Uh-uh.
Why though? Like, why is your
Right,
purpose to be rich?
right,
I
right.
mean, I don't know.
Yeah. No.
But if I say, God's told me to, to share love with other people. Okay, cool. And because of that, He made me rich, so I can be able to share with other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a different energy on that. You know what I'm saying?
There is. You
So-
really twisted that one. I was like, where's he going with that?
Yeah.
That's really true. All right, so that's my quick rapid fire. We have just a couple minutes left. I really want you to leave listeners with, final thoughts, and then please let everyone know where they can find you so they can find out more.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. Deep conversations with dope individuals. I'm here for that,
100%.
and it's genuine, and I find you to be a dope individual and
Thank you so much.
able to have a very deep conversation. And I find that very comforting because it's
I
not a lot
appreciate
of
that.
people that you can connect with like that. And so, as far as what I would tell people, everybody's going through a battle. We're
Mhm.
all facing something. And whether you speak on it or you don't, whether you understand it or you don't, be gentle with yourself. Be kind to
Yes.
yourself, because your words have power, and the way in which you speak to yourself is going to come out in the way you also speak to other people. It's also going to come out in the way that you feel about yourself. And a lot of times we put ourselves in our own hell and then blame it on God. And it's not God's fault that we can't figure out or haven't figured out how to be kind and gentle and comforting to ourselves.
Right.
We want love and nurturing and care from the outside world, and we can't give it to ourselves. And while I understand sometimes it's hard mentally and emotionally, when you really lean on God, not just to read the Bible, but really get to know who He is and, what He stands for, and really dig into it, then at that point you'll find some answers or at least some comfort that will help you calm the noise in your mind and release the anxiety that's continuing to plague you, or the depression that's keeping you in the dark room and having you suffer in silence. And so, I do really, really believe that when you're kind with yourself, you're gentle with yourself, when you're really pursuing a relationship with God, then at that point you can think different. His goal is to help us think about it from His perspective. What would Jesus do was not just a synonym or a mantra. It was really a way of life, because when you're thinking about these things, you're putting yourself in an alternative perspective, a divine lens to a human problem. And you know what I'm saying? And so that in and of itself is a blanket of power, a blanket of enthusiasm, a blanket of things that can help you break through. And so if I could leave anybody with, or everybody with anything, it would be to find out where your power comes from. And seek to understand your design before you start being so heavily critical on other people and their flaws and deficiencies and errors, because you also got the same ones or different ones in a different way. And be kind to yourself, and maybe you'll attract kindness from other people. Be loving to yourself, and you'll attract the love that you seek, right? Karma's real. And so, if you can change your mind, you can change your life. So you can find me at KennyBspeaks.com or at KennyBspeaks on any social media platform. I have a radio show also, Change the Vibe radio show on iHeartRadio each Tuesday at 7 p.m. On Hip Hop 95. So y'all make sure y'all come catch a vibe, get some good music, a good conversation, and see dope individuals like yourself.
Kenny, thank you so much. It has been more than a pleasure. I know that this episode is reaching so many people. I'm incredibly appreciative to have you on. And until next time. Yeah. So everyone, this is Kenny Brown, Kenny B Speaks. And as I end all my podcasts, until next time, let this be the moment.
Amen. Change the vibe.
So